So, good evening, everyone. Chad told me to talk about the realities of being a founder, which I was slightly confused by because notwithstanding what was just said, I'm actually not a founder. In fact, I am a founder's nightmare. First of all, I am a VC, the person who emails you, the founder, 10 times before 9 a.m. on Saturday with ideas you should execute on and people you should meet. Maybe one of them is valuable to you if you're really, really, really lucky and I am having a fabulous day. 2, I am a CEO manager type who comes in just when things are starting to look very promising, like you are having traffic or revenue or you just raised a large round or maybe all 3 of those things, and I provide adult supervision. You, the true founder, the person who actually had the big idea, kind of hates me. But Chad is a smart guy, and he knows I know a thing or two about founding and running startup companies and entrepreneurship in general. So for the next few minutes, I'll tell you what I know. First, I am told you might want to hear about how I actually became a VC. The fact is, I sort of stumbled into it. I was on the beach with a woman who's from Australia this weekend who was feeling lucky about something, and she said her bum landed in butter. It's like a very weird image, but it works. And that's kind of what I feel like. In 2011, I was coming off an exit in the online video space, the French-founded Dailymotion, and I knew one thing. I had to do something other than online video for a while. I wanted to be able to lift up my head and see this tech space more broadly. For at least a little while, I did not want to focus on how traffic or sales had gone that day. I wanted to think about broad trends. And I had breakfast with a friend from high school who had founded a prominent VC. Mostly, he remembered me as the smart girl who was also a cheerleader, a little known fact about me. He offered me a job, and I took it. Okay, so now that's me, back to founders. In my role as VC, I've met a lot of founders, and there are certain characteristics I look for in founders, and in fact, in almost any tech industry executive I hire. She should have most of these 10 characteristics. She should be tech smart, not necessarily technical, and we all know there's a big difference. She should be analytically smart. She should actually care about the data. She should know it not because she studies it, but because she lives it. She should be business smart. She should understand the trilogy from tech to product to business. She should be super competitive. Great companies are not built from 9 to 5 on weekdays. Sorry, that's just true. She should be user smart. She should be a power user of her own business. She should be a fire hose of new ideas, not derivative, not copying from another site or even industry, genuinely new ideas. She should be curious. She doesn't know everything, and she knows it. In my mind, this is the exact opposite of arrogant, and it's one of the hardest qualities to find in a founder, actually. She should be risk-taking. It's just in the fundamental definition of a founder. And she should be thorough, not the opposite of risk-taking, just complete, as in she checks her numbers. And finally, she should be communicative. The least obvious, but if she can't communicate her ideas to her team and to her investors, guaranteed she will fail. So my guess is most of the people in this room have a lot of these characteristics, so you wouldn't be sitting in a conference room in the middle of July. I have a bunch of other things to say about founders, but I'm only going to say 2 because I don't have that much time. Thing 1, so 1 out of 2. You can benefit from VCs beyond the money. Since I'm a VC and I'm now running a great company, Bloglovin, I can feel for the first time, I can talk really about the relationship between founders and VCs because I sit on both sides of the table. A VC who has never operated, and there are many, does not truly understand operations. That's just a fact, especially operations on the scale of a startup. That does not make them a bad VC. They can be smart and, most importantly, provide the broad market perspective that founders often simply don't have because they are consumed in the market they are living in, and by the market they are living in, and by the small piece of the market they are living in. Sitting on the other side of the table again over the last few months, I expected to not feel the value of our investors at Bloglovin, most of whom are actually not operators. We do have one operator on our board. In fact, the opposite is true. At every board meeting we have, and we just had one last week, which is why I look a little tired, our investors continue to provide value through broader perspective. Sometimes it seems pretty silly. In fact, at this last board meeting, one of the investors asked, well, why don't you consider a temporal product like Snapchat? And we all kind of looked puzzled at each other, like the whole purpose of our product is for women to be able to collect fashion blogs they love and refer back to them over time. That doesn't seem to work. Maybe they're onto something, I don't know, but we didn't, act on it right away. But mostly, they ask hard questions we haven't thought about enough because we are extremely caught up in the day-to-day of product releases, bug fixes, traffic's ups and downs, and soon, for us, revenue. So as a founder, leverage your VC. Challenge them to provide value. They want to, and they will if they can. Thing two, remember I said two things? Thing two, it's really, really hard to be a founder. Let's be real. Founding a company, and yes, running a company founded by others, is very hard, and it's absolutely not for everyone. You have to fire your friends. You make very, very, very tough decisions. Not once a week, not once a month, but every single day. It's exhausting. When I was at the video site Dailymotion, where I ran the US business, at one of our first board meetings, I told the board I was going to filter the site in the US for porn, and that we would have a tremendous traffic loss, but in the end, we would have a real business. They fought me like crazy. They were all French men, and they just thought about porn differently. So on the day after Bastille Day, it was yesterday, 14 juillet, is that how you say? Anyway, viva la différence, right? Everyone has their world opinion. In the end, I convinced them that I understood the US market better than they did. We tried and failed until we figured out the best filtering system. At one point, I nicknamed us the Disney Channel because we were just filtering too damn much. In the end, we built a business of 20 million users in the US and drove revenue for the entire company of 100 million global users, which we sold to France Telecom for $200 million in 2011. So make the hard decisions, believe in yourself, and most of all, make your board work for you.